YNW Melly back in court today. His attorney saying the state has not given enough evidence to this point to keep him in jail, but prosecutors say they have proven plenty that shows he needs to remain behind bars.
Oh, please don't you cry, I'm sorry. I just thought sometime I'll be home soon.
Melly's worst nightmare just came true. His ex-girlfriend, Mariah, was arrested while coming back into the country on January 26th. She's now locked up in Miami County, and chances are she won't get a bond since the feds have been after her for a while. They're going to question her about witness tampering and what really happened that night. She might be the missing piece to finally uncovering the truth about sack chaser and Javi.
Maya Hamilton is spending her first day at the Broward County Jail. She has no arrest record until now. U.S. Border Patrol agents arrested her at Miami International Airport Monday after she arrived on an international flight. Court records show Hamilton was ordered to testify in Demons.
The feds checked Mariah's iCloud and found proof that Melly tried to mess with her testimony. If he's found guilty of witness tampering alone, he could spend the rest of his life in prison. On top of that, they hit him and 2 others with 6 new charges, including tampering with a witness, running criminal activities, conspiracy, and using a communication device for a crime. Some of these charges come with a life sentence if he's convicted. The feds have wanted to question Mariah for a long time. At first, Melly got lucky when she agreed to leave the country for a while. But now that she's back, there's no way she'll be able to stay quiet. Even Javi's dad spoke out about how he found out Melly was trying to control Mariah.
Crazy way that Melly was communicating. He wasn't allowed to use the phone, but he was passing notes to people, and then this person's calling this person and then that person.
Seeing like to me, they're going through extreme measures, trying to cover up or convince people not to testify, like Mariah's mom. They was using code words like Rihanna and
If Melly is found guilty of witness tampering, he's looking at life in prison just for that charge alone. That reality hit him hard, and it showed during his last court appearance. He walked in furious, looking unkempt with no haircut, clearly frustrated with the situation. But his mood shifted when the judge started talking about the possibility of releasing him. It turns out Melly needs to make an informed decision about which lawyers he wants to represent him. Meanwhile, he's been stuck behind bars for over 2,100 days, waiting for his fate to be decided.
Mr. Demons has to make an informed decision about who he wants as lawyers. He's now been sitting in our jail for 2,159 days. So, how long would you like to be able to make that decision?
I can't determine when the investigation will be over. That's up to the Broward Sheriff's Office, but I can, as I said, I'm just asking for, and then I'm asking for at least a day or 2. At minimum.
Decide by tomorrow. I've also reserved all of tomorrow.
Melly has been stuck in jail since February 2019, and over the years, his treatment inside has only gotten worse. His mother has spoken out about it, saying, "My son hasn't even been convicted of anything, yet he's being treated unfairly." Even inmates who have been convicted still have basic rights. They can use the phone, write letters, and receive mail. But they hold Melly's mail and don't give it to him. If the feds have proof that Melly was tampering with witnesses through jail calls, that might explain why they're restricting his phone access. But that doesn't change the fact that his mother is heartbroken and feels powerless. Seeing her son say he's scared for his life and in pain was devastating for her. As a mother, that was heartbreaking. It made me feel completely helpless. The Broward Sheriff's Office needs to be investigated. They're making up their own rules. "We've tried to fight this in court," she said, desperate for justice. In this situation, the judge doesn't really have control over what happens inside the jail. Melly's legal team already had a hearing about his mistreatment, but the jail seems to make its own rules, and no one is holding them accountable. His mother believes that's unfair, saying they have to answer to someone too. Because Melly's case is so public, it has drawn a lot of media attention, and people have been vocal about their opinions. Charleston White, for example, didn't hold back, saying, "I'm so happy he's in jail getting mistreated." When you take a life, you don't get to complain about how you're treated. On the other hand, Boozy spoke out in support of Melly's mother, Jamie King, recognizing how much stress she's under. "She's real, bro. She's been going through it. I met her, and she's a good woman. I reached out because I respect her," he said, showing his support for the family. On top of the witness tampering charges, things got even worse when police raided Borland's house and found papers describing what the jurors looked like and where they were sitting in court. This made it seem like Borland and Melly were planning to tamper with the jury. Melly's co-defendant, YNW Borland, was arrested Monday night and is now locked up in a Miami jail on an out-of-county warrant. It was just confirmed that the warrant came from Broward County for witness tampering. According to documents obtained by Law and Crime Network, the warrant states that from April 10, 2023 to July 22, 2023, Cortland Henry, also known as Borland, along with others, knowingly misled someone with the intent of making them withhold testimony. What makes this even more serious is the timing. Jury selection for Melly's case started in mid-April, and the judge declared a mistrial on July 22nd, the same day Borland allegedly tampered with a witness. That kind of interference is not only illegal, but also puts jurors' safety at risk. Even DJ Academics was shocked, saying he couldn't believe they actually tried to pull this off.
Keep it real, this is sloppy. Portland, how the f you gonna have the notebook of the jurors in your house? Holy sh! Like, come the f on. It's like doing a and having the surveillance tape in your DVD player or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, come on, bro. Like they raid your crib and the surveillance footage of the is in your DVD player. They be like, oh, okay, thank you, brother. This can't be at your crib.
As more charges keep piling up against Melly and the prosecution continues to delay the case, it's starting to look like what Boozy said about the feds might be true. They just keep stacking charges on him. "When they want you, he said. Boozy pointed out something suspicious about the timing of Melly's trial. "I knew they wanted him bad when they waited for that law to pass before taking him to trial. He sat in jail for 2-3 years when they could have done it earlier. But no, they waited until that law was in place and then took him to trial just months later." What shocked him even more was that Melly didn't get a bond after his mistrial. That's crazy. After a mistrial, you usually get a bond. "That almost never happens," he said, frustrated by how the case is being handled. In a last-ditch effort to get Melly out on bond, his lawyers pointed to text messages he sent to Mariah during the crime, trying to use them to his advantage in court. Melly's texts were meant to show that he was running from people on the street that night. In the messages, he claimed someone had just shot up the car and was trying to kill them. Worried, Mariah asked if he was okay, and he responded that a car was following him. He said he was hiding and that he thought they were still out there, she recalled. She kept asking if he was safe, and when she asked about Sack Chaser and Juvie, he told her, "I don't know if they're in the car." His defense team also pointed out that no gun was ever recovered from the crime scene. "If there's no firearm, I can't even run tests to determine what was used," an expert explained. But that wasn't enough to get Melly out on bond. Prosecutors had already uncovered what they believe was the real motive behind the crime. Back in the day, Melly was close friends with King Von, and according to a former O-Block member, Melly had once gone to Von for advice on how to handle a situation, something that would later come back to haunt him. When it came to Sack Chaser and Juvie, King Von had a lot to say about Melly's situation. A former O-Block member shared that Von told him Melly had confided in him about problems with his two friends. "He didn't come out and say it directly, but you know how people talk without saying much," the person recalled. Von had mentioned that after Melly posted something, Sack Chaser and Juvie were upset with him. Von was apparently confused, asking Melly, "Why are you trusting them? You know the love we have, but they're trying to extort you." The issue was that while Borland and Melly were doing the most work for their group, Sack Chaser and Juvie wanted to split the money 4 ways, which didn't sit well with Melly. So, he turned to King Von for advice. And as you might guess, Von probably gave him the wrong kind of answer. When you look at the motive alongside all the hard evidence stacking up against Melly, it paints a pretty grim picture for him. This includes messages found on his phone after the crime, connected to the PZ Gambino account, which only adds to the case. When Mariah asked Melly if he was okay, his response was chilling. "I did that," followed by a smiley face. Then, just a few hours later, at 10:26 a.m. on October 26, 2018, his YNW Melly account sent a cryptic message, SHHHH. This was just a day after the shooting, and the way both Melly and Borland acted raised eyebrows. They didn't seem upset at all about the loss of their friends. Instead, Melly was still posting and acting like everything was fine, staying positive despite the tragedy. "We still turn regardless of what happened," he wrote, showing no sign of remorse. But perhaps the most damning evidence came when prosecutors investigated the Jeep they were in. A forensic expert testified that the crime couldn't have been a drive-by. The bullets found in the car were inconsistent with that theory. The expert explained, 3 rounds were found on the driver's side, back seat, and based on this, it's clear the shooting didn't happen while the car was moving. The expert also revealed that the crime most likely happened from the back left seat of the vehicle. In court, Juvie's mother also testified, explaining who was sitting in that seat, further complicating Melly's defense.
And who is that?
Christopher Thomas.
Ms. Phillips, did you see who entered into the occupants who entered into that gray Jeep?
Yes.
Do you recognize where your son entered that gray Jeep?
Yes.
Which seat, if you can identify for the jury?
He got in the back seat on the right hand side.
Did you recognize the individual that got into the back seat on the left side, the rear driver's side?
Yes.
And who was that individual?
Janelle.